The Mexican Grand Prix yesterday had everything. Drama, overtakes, surprise performances, recovery drives, radio meltdowns, catastrophic FIA oversight, and most importantly, a Formula 1 car with a sombrero, because that's just Mexico, I guess. We got a new championship leader, and the point gap between first and third is now only 36 points. And there are 4 races and 2 sprints left, and somehow George Russell is still technically in the fight. But what are the main takeaways from this race? Let's talk about it. If there was ever any doubt about what Lando Norris could do in Formula 1, then those doubts can be put to rest. A fantastic performance from him all weekend long, despite missing out on FP1 because of the rookie test. His McLaren showed some of its true colors in this race, with very efficient rear tire degradation, which allowed the team to put on some more front wing and really attack the track in sector 2 and 3, while keeping the rear temperatures under control. 30 seconds ahead while pacing himself means he had roughly 3 to 4 tenths better race pace than the rest of the grid over the 2 stints. It's not an exact math, and I don't really have the statistics and the overall lap by lap, but overall his McLaren did exactly what he wanted in this race. The car was under him and he took full and total control of it, dominated this race and won by the biggest margin that we have had this season. Did not ever put a tire wrong this weekend. This is what Lando Norris is capable of and what he has been trying to show this entire season. When he's not doubting himself or talking down on his own abilities, he can really perform at the elite level. But is it going to be enough for him to take the title? He took the lead over Oscar by 1 point this race. But the question for Lando is, how do you perform when the car is not 100% drivable? When you are fighting the car to do what you wanted to do? How do you combine that with tracks that you haven't really performed at in the past? Because between the 3 title contenders, it's pretty clear to everyone that watches Formula 1 and people that are honest with themselves that Verstappen is the better driver of the 3. And Max does not need his car to be 100%. He just needs it to be good enough. He himself can make up the difference. So for Lando himself, can you do that now that we're heading to Brazil and Vegas? 2 tracks that haven't been the best for Lando, and tracks that on paper suits Red Bull and Mercedes. How do you make sure to keep yourself ahead in the title race, knowing that? Because from here on out, it's not about any other driver. It's just about what you can do each race weekend and how you can maximize your own points. That's all you can really do, nothing else. Moving on from Lando Norris, we get to Red Bull, and the Red Bull strategy team has done it again. They are on it. Red Bull are back to play for the title, and it's not only Verstappen doing the impossible. The team is supporting him to the max. It was clear on Friday that McLaren had the superior race pace and that Verstappen could qualify P1. But had they gone with that setup and that direction, even if he took pole, he would have been overtaken regardless, with his tire degradation being that bad. So they switched it up. They took away some of the speed to gain a bit of the balance back in the car, and they put Max on the alternate strategy with the slower mediums, a tire that the Red Bull was struggling with the entire weekend, and he still delivered. He might have gotten the best start out of the top 6 with mediums on, while the rest had softs. And I honestly thought that he was gonna swing wide and get the lead in turn 1. But Leclerc and Hamilton got too close with each other, with Norris being on the inside, and Verstappen was forced on the curb, and the rest was history. We cut turn 1, we do some rallying and drifting on the grass, we avoid putting the car in the barriers, and then we give back the positions and we race from there. And giving back the positions was the most important thing that Max did this weekend. And it's one of 2 main reasons for why he did not get a penalty. For those that don't know, there is always a bit of leeway with the rules when it's lap 1 and turn 1. And stewards do have an understanding that lap 1 and turn 1 is not the same as the rest of the race. He gave back the advantage he got by cutting the track, and to top it off, he didn't cut the track on purpose. It was just the way the race start played out. A bit later, we get a quick little kamikaze dive on Hamilton. Lewis closed the door while being side by side so the small contact between them was not penalized. Verstappen gets shoved off the track in the next sequence and gained the position. Went back alongside Hamilton at the next DRS straight, where Lewis locked up and went off the track himself. Lewis does not follow the race director's orders, gains 2 seconds of delta time, which he does not return back, and gains a 10-second penalty for it. Was it a bit harsh? Yes, it was. Is it Verstappen or Hamilton's fault? Not really. It's hard racing, and if anyone is to blame, it's the Ferrari team for not ordering Lewis to drop back a bit and show the stewards that he gave the time back. He himself has done this before. He knows the stewards do not get involved if you fix the situation yourself. But despite being on the slower mediums and going through the pain, Verstappen kept himself within the pit window of Leclerc ahead. He pits and he charged after him in the second stint on the soft tire and would have overtaken him if not for the late virtual safety car. Some would call the VSC complete bullshit, but it was 100% necessary because there were marshals on track tending to Sainz's car around that part of the track. And marshals is something that I will talk about later. Had he overtaken Leclerc, the gap would now be 33 points. Could 3 points cost Verstappen the title? Possibly, but like he himself said, sometimes the safety car works against you and sometimes it works for you. Overall, a really good recovery drive from Verstappen, and he outscores Piastri yet again. Moving on to marshals. Liam Lawson almost ran over 2 of them in turn 1 while they were collecting debris, and he had no idea they were out there and managed to not hit them as he came charging down. I don't even think that there were yellow flags anywhere for that. It was acknowledged on the broadcast, which is why the FIA and the stewards reacted the way they did at the end with the virtual safety car. Sainz spins off in sector 3 and drives his damaged car off the track himself into the little marshal's post. But the car wasn't completely pushed in, and the marshals had to be on track to give it a nudge in order to get it completely off the track. So the FIA played it safe and they called the VSC, which is the correct decision here. But the question needs to be asked: what did the FIA do with the marshals before, and have they not learned from previous mistakes? To be honest, it's just standard FIA things, unfortunately. And finally, the best for last. Ollie Bearman finished P4 after fighting for a podium for nearly half the race. And the most important bit of it all, it was completely on merit, not charity. Started well from P10, overtook Piastri, Hadjar, Tsunoda and Antonelli within the lap 1 chaos, took full advantage of the Hamilton and Verstappen fight and overtook Verstappen on track with extremely good car placement, and overtook Russell as he himself went off the track during that little fight. Hamilton gets a 10-second penalty, which he served in the pit, and bada boom, you have Haas in 3rd place. Amazing. Yes, he lost the position later to Verstappen, but it was not really realistic for him to keep it. But his race with the 2 Mercedes cars was on merit, and he schooled them both. What's even better for Bearman is that Piastri pits on lap 47 for softs, and Bearman responds to the Mercs on lap 48. And despite having nearly the same tire life as the McLaren, Piastri could still not catch and pass the Haas car. Beautiful race by Haas and Bearman. Definitely worth driver of the day. Those are the main takeaways. Some of the minor things to take note of. This was the 4th Mexican Grand Prix in a row where Fernando Alonso has DNF'd. Yuki Tsunoda this race had the same front wing as Max, but dropped even further back with the upgrades on. Verstappen also had a few new pieces as well, but compared to previous performances, Yuki is still in decline, especially if bad for him, as Arvid Lindblad placed higher than him on the Friday FP1 session. Not the end-all be-all of sessions, but it sets the precedent for what's to come. Alpine is still a tractor with no change in sight, and the fight for P2 in the constructors is really tight, with only 10 points from 2nd to 4th. And also the fight for P6 is pretty hot, with the gap from P9 to P6 being only 12 points. One good result for any of these teams could mean millions more in prize money ahead of 2026 it could make a massive difference over the course of the next generation of regulations. That's gonna be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed this little recap of the Mexican Grand Prix. Let me know where I can improve the video, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.